Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining our CMP webinar. It's just amazing that we are almost in mid-June. So welcome, and we are glad that you have joined us today. My name is Colleen Fillmore, and I'm the Idaho State Department of Education Child Nutrition Director. The state agency team is here today, too, to provide some updates and answer questions that you have now that we are starting to move into the summer months, and we all know that COVID-19 is still going on. Please continue to send your pictures as we move into the summertime, and then once again as we start to get to the reopening of school, which will be here before we know it. Also, thank you for your continued work in feeding Idaho's children. We know that things are just changing constantly, and keeping up with these changes can be extremely challenging. We appreciate your feedback on these webinars, and please continue to give us your best practices. With you sharing those best practices to us, we can turn around and share them with to others, which has been extremely helpful. For the agenda today, I'll just be giving a few brief updates and sharing some resources. Mary Ann will talk about summer food. Heather then will talk about the ART grant and also some NSLP update information. And TJ will be talking about USDA foods. And then we'll go straight into the questions that you have, and we will go ahead and answer those for you. Just as an FYI, we will not have a webinar next week, but we will the week after that. So June 25th will be the next webinar that we will be having. Also, for your information, Governor Little will be hosting a press conference today regarding Stage 4 of Idaho Rebound. That is at 10 o'clock Boise time. And, excuse me, the conference will be streamed to the public through Idaho Public Television if you are interested in looking or listening to that. So we had something very significant happen yesterday. We've all been waiting, and from USDA yesterday, we did get the extension of the nationwide area eligible waiver through August 31st. This is significant, especially during these summer months, and with those of you that are continuing to serve students throughout these next few months. Excuse me. This waiver allows program operators to locate summer food and seamless open sites in areas that do not meet the area eligible requirements. Again, this is significant. It's something that all the states nationwide have been waiting for some time. And I know my inbox just exploded after that happened yesterday with all sorts of emails nationwide, everyone wondering if we had all seen it. So that, again, was really super good news. USDA also has provided the third extension for the meal pattern waiver, now effective through July 31st. Now, we realize we're getting a lot of questions on the reopening, and we promise we will give information out as soon as we do receive it. So at this point, these two extensions, the first one through August 31st and the next one through July, we'll see when we get to that time if USDA extends again. Of course, everything will depend upon what happens with COVID-19 and how things either improve or if they don't. None of us have that crystal ball, so we really don't know. Also earlier this week, we sent a number of waiver extensions out, including several topics such as food service management and on-site monitoring. All this information has been sent out to program contacts via our broadcast email system and also has been located on the governor's website. So please go through that information, and if you have specific questions or anything, give us a call, send us an email. We are happy to answer those for you. Also wanted to let you know that we have updated and have an additional map for locating summer food sites on the governor's website. So now there are two maps. There's a geo map, which will have the summer food and the seamless sites, and then an additional USDA map that shows the summer food sites. Okay, we have a number of handouts on this webinar. Please go out and look at those, download them and copy them if you would like to. These are resources that we see that we think will be very important, something that will be beneficial for you. And a lot of resources that we're seeing now are getting very specific to the reopening of schools, which is probably the most common question that we are getting right now with different scenarios that are going on out there. So just to briefly go through some of the resources and grant information on the one handout is today from 2 to 3 Eastern time, which will be noon Boise time, No Kid Hungry has a webinar going on. The title of that is The Reopening of Schools, the Importance of School Nutrition and District Leadership Relationships. And so that's one. Another resource is the GoFundMe campaign that SNA has going on. We have a URL for you to click in there if you're interested in that information getting to the SNA Foundation. School Nutrition Association, SNA, continues to have free COVID-19 resources and training. So if you are not a member, SNA understands that this is really trying times, and so they're offering a lot of these things free. There is also a URL link to a resource called Lunch Assistance that has some great information. I went out and checked this yesterday, and they continue to put some really nice things out there. And lastly, FRAC announced earlier this week, in partnership with the Albertsons Company Foundation, some grants that they are putting out. Now, the application is due June 22nd, and programs eligible for funding can include, but are not limited to, things like transportation, food purchasing, marketing and outreach, hiring, technical assistance, equipment, and other things. So again, all of this information is in the handout section. Please go and check that. If you have problems getting those handouts, go ahead, send us an email. I know that in some cases I have just put those attachments into an email and sent them to somebody if they had difficulties getting those. So please feel free to let us know. That is all I have right now. So I'll turn the screen over to Marianne. Marianne, if you want to take that screen.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Colleen. Good morning, everyone. This is Marianne Livey. I hope everyone is doing okay, and happy Thursday. I wanted to just do a few reminders to all of the summer feeding sponsors. I have a few reminders, so please, if you guys have any questions regarding these reminders, include that in the questionnaire or shoot myself an email. But my first reminder is checking the status of your summer feeding application packet in My Idaho CMP. We still have a few sponsors that the packet has been returned to them, but we have not seen it resubmitted back. So please check your packet status. If it has a returned status, review the sponsor notes section for any necessary corrections needed. And if your packet is not submitted, if it says not submitted in the status section, please make sure to submit that packet for approval. For sponsors operating past June 30th, especially as it pertains to the area eligibility waiver that Colleen mentioned earlier, we did receive the extension for that. So if you have any sites operating past June 30th, please make sure to update the meal service dates on each of your site applications to reflect the extended meal service. And again, we submit that packet so that we can review that on our end. The next reminder I have is regarding your average daily participation. We were definitely seeing a huge trend up during the month of March, April, and May. And so we did increase a lot of your site cap numbers, but we are getting some sites that are trending down. And so please make sure you also update that on your end for each of your site applications. And again, resubmit your packet for us to review. And my last reminder is regarding the checklist summary section on your summer feeding packet. As you all know, the checklist summary contains the certification memo, intent to operate, public release, and the health department notification. If you have not done so, please upload these documents on the attachment list section on your SFSP application packet. This requirement was disabled in March to allow sponsors to be able to submit their application for approval and begin the claims. However, these requirements were not waived, it was simply postponed. So for any of you sponsors who have not submitted this and who are operating in June or beyond, please make sure to complete these documents and upload that on your packet. And again, resubmit that packet for myself and Dominique to review. Those are my reminders. So again, if you have any questions at all, please indicate so on the question section of this webinar, or shoot myself an email or Dominique an email, and we will get back to you as soon as possible. Again, we can't reiterate enough how thankful we are for all of your hard work, and we are here for you. So please, if you have any questions, feel free to reach us. So with that, I would like to turn it over to Ms. Heather.
Good morning, everyone. I am going to share my screen and make sure that everyone can actually see what we have here. So today I'd like to talk about the Idaho Online School Meals application. And I wanted to go over a couple different key points that the system can bring a benefit to your district if you're not already considering it, that might push you towards thinking about implementing an online free and reduced application. So first and foremost, in the system that the Idaho State Department of Education procured on behalf of all the districts in Idaho, it's through a vendor called Nutrilink. So Nutrilink offers a cloud-based product called NutriCloud, and the screenshots you see here on my screen are from that system. So this is an actual management system of it, and it is after the parents have completed their application and submitted it, you would see something like a screen here. So just to walk through some of the benefits, first and foremost, if the application is completed correctly and completely, which with all the prompts the parents are guided through during the application process, many of them are, it will be processed automatically, which takes a huge workload off of the person responsible for processing applications in the beginning of the school year. Additionally, if you don't have an electronic point of service, NutriCloud will determine the eligibility status for you. So it essentially works as a really sophisticated calculator. So this can bridge the gap for districts that are operating with manual practices for benefit issuance, application determination, and help be an edit check to confirm that the applications you're collecting through the system are determined correctly. So that's what's highlighted here in the screenshot, is that determination made in NutriCloud for those of you that don't have an electronic point of service. The SFA would select eligibility determination for applications with special circumstances. So this screen highlights the fact that it's not going to be so automatic that you're going to lose any sense of control or oversight. If there's certain special circumstances in an application, such as a foster box is checked, first and foremost, it will ask the parent, is this a ward of the state? Essentially, it's our court order placement. So it has edit check guidance questions for the family, but it also holds it for review for the food service director or the application processor in your district. And you are given the opportunity to review that application, gather any additional information that's needed, and then make an eligibility determination as seen in these screens through some drop-down boxes. This does allow for multi-type applications, as in the case with a foster child, where perhaps one child receives free benefits and the other children are either reduced or paid. So that is something that the system allows as well. NutriCloud will hold applications if a previous application has been submitted. So that's really valuable because we've been on districts or on reviews in districts where they didn't know that a second application came in, processed it, it changed the benefits, but there was really no way to track it with a paper application. So this system has history built in with the family, with the children that are applying for meals, will hold consecutive applications and allows you to review them side by side, which is what the screenshot you see here is illustrating. If you have zero income applications, there's a threshold that holds them. That's not saying you can't approve it. It just won't automatically approve it on your behalf. I believe you can actually set additional thresholds to determine prices or household incomes that you would like to be more aware of. And so there's a search feature that you can actually sort all of your applications by zero income, so you can go through those all together. You can see in the screenshot, it's illustrating both the search bar as well as the application that's held. In this case, this application that's held, there's a foster child and it's a multi-type application, which is what we've already discussed. And it will also integrate with any electronic point of service that has a DC status listed for a student, and it will not override that. So essentially, if you get an application, an income application in after a child has already been matched on the DC list, this system will not displace that DC status, which is really important for tracking those receiving food stamp benefit, anything for a categorically eligible reason. It will also identify sibling matches in terms of collecting the data from either a student information system, which is how the districts track students, and or an electronic point of service system. So if there's a sibling to a DC student that becomes a parent on an application, there is actually a notification in the system that will notify you that that is happening, so that you can go and confer benefits appropriately to all members in that household. Additionally, when you have situations like that, the notes feature is really helpful. You can see it in the blue up at the top of the screenshot, add or edit notes. That notes feature is really helpful in terms of tracking history or rationale for holding an application, but it also tracks the historical status of the status, changes in information in a separate report. So you don't feel like you have to track everything in the notes feature. So those are two separate functions that the system will allow for. And like we've already covered, it includes a search feature that will include the eligibility status if it's determined by NutriCloud. If you have an electronic point of service that already performs the determination function for you, NutriCloud will not make an eligibility determination. It will integrate with the electronic point of service you already have on hand. This is really important. I believe this is the last note I wanted to make about the statewide app that we are providing on behalf of any district that would like to elect this at no cost to the district. It provides for the bulk printing of applications. So essentially, you can select the date, you can select the date range, you can extract all the information that was gathered in the electronic application process and transfer it over into a report style printout. This can be saved as a PDF file or as a local level copy that's printed out. But that batch reporting functionality is really critical for maintaining your own data on a local level. It's cloud-based, so the cloud-based information is backed up on a server that Nutrilink houses, but owning your own data is really important, so they allow for that as well. If there's any provision information that needs to be extracted out of the system and retained for longer information or CEP data, this report is really critical for that. And it's also helpful when we're coming out to conduct administrative reviews. So that's just a high-level overview of some of the benefits of Nutrilink's product, how they ended up with our bid going through the procurement process. Just wanted to share those. They have a webinar for those who are already operating it, and there is another one coming up next month. But if anyone's interested in the online application, definitely feel free to reach out to me. One of the handouts of today's webinar is the flyer that has the direct link to the request form. Lastly, for the benefits to the parents, for those of you that don't have an online application or maybe have a different application system, for anything that might be unclear to a parent applying for the family, Nutrilink, or I'm sorry, the product NutriCloud will provide additional clarification. For instance, if they check the foster box, a pop-up box appears in front of the parent and says, is there a court order for this child, to differentiate between foster from a grandparent watching a child versus an actual court order placement. Additionally, if the box is checked that the student is homeless, it asks, is the student receiving making evento benefits? So it's an additional data validation, so to speak. Online application, when there's additional household members and the person tries to proceed through the application without adding another person, it will ask, are you sure? Are you sure there's no one else in your family? And then it will also indicate an error if duplicate names are represented without any clarification or distinction between them. It also provides parents a confirmation number to check the status of their application. So if they're communicating with you and they have that confirmation number, both parties know which app we're talking about, even above and beyond the student information on the data. And then it does ask parents for additional confirmation if they do in fact indicate that they have zero income on an application. So these are just some of the steps that help to clarify and guide the process for families applying for meals. Nutrilink has worked really diligently to incorporate the USDA Prototype integrity features that break apart the income guidelines, the income categories in which families could earn income that need to be listed. So it's much, much more clear. As far as we know, that's the only program that actually breaks apart income specifically listed out and requires a response on each of those items before progressing forward to be sure that the application is fully representative of that household's income status. So just an overview, it's not too late to sign up this year if you're interested in getting in touch with Nutrilink to either transition over to the system or set it up. Please download the flyer that's in today's webinars. There's a link there, or email me directly, call me if you have additional questions. Definitely feel free to reach out. Still time this year. We will offer it again next year, but of course the benefit is lessened because you're only getting 1 year of annual maintenance. So totally switching tracks, NSLP renewal. First and foremost, make sure that you're filling out the food safety inspection report for NSLP renewal. This one's a tricky one because it's actually outside the application packet. And unless you're doing CEP, this is one of the only places that you really have to enter data outside of the application packet. It's called the Food Safety Inspections Report. It should be super quick to fill it out, but make sure that you do before you submit your packet in the application packet. We're also hearing quite a few questions about the PLE. So please be aware that there is a PLE tutorial video in the digital resources section of the CNP training portal. This means you do not have to log into the portal to access that. It is available. It's a short 5-minute video that just walks through the most basic scenarios of paid lunch equity in terms of how to fill that out. And then lastly, before I hand off the webinar to TJ, I just wanted to clarify some points about NSLP annual training. So just to confirm, there is no in-person, face-to-face training component of annual training this year. Everything is going to be online. So if you're looking for something to register for in August, it's not there. I know we had a class previously listed that has been pulled down. Don't feel like you missed out on an opportunity. It's not happening anymore. So be aware that the list of courses to take was emailed out as a broadcast email. It went to the program contact, ideally the food service director in each district, and has the whole list of courses that need to be completed in order to be considered fully compliant with the annual training requirements. Additionally, if you go through those trainings and you're recognizing that you're not getting check boxes, or you get all the way through and you've done every activity, but it doesn't seem to be processing that you've completed the course, give it a second and go back to the CNP training portal under your My Enrollments tab, because you will no longer be able to get a certificate of completion out of the online learning system. It will be directly in the CNP training portal under your My Enrollments tab. And the icon to click on is this little certificate next to the course name. So course name, you can search for more information. If you feel like you didn't get the benefit of that course and you want to retake it, you can actually re-enroll yourself below the certificate, but don't look for the certificates in the online system. Just get out of it, go back to the portal and see, and your tile will actually disappear in the online learning system. We tried to make this clear with a little snippet. At the end of every course, it says after you score an 80% or higher on the following assessment, your course will be complete, and you will no longer be able to access the course content unless you enroll to retake the course. So this is in every course as just a reminder. Don't feel like you have to memorize what I just said or visually imprint this on your brain, because every course will have the little screenshot at the bottom of my screen. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to TJ for USDA Foods updates. Thanks all.
Great. Thank you so much, Heather. Great information. There's just so much going on right now. The USDA Foods update this week is going to be really, really short. And essentially all I wanted to do was make sure that everyone is aware that there was a very important email that was sent to all users of the Favors system. So if you participate in USDA DoD Fresh in any capacity, if you've allocated any of your entitlement funds to the DoD program, you need to make sure that you received this email. And the reason that we like to go over these things is oftentimes we hear, you know, that, hey, I didn't get the email, but it didn't come from the state agency. It actually came from the Favors system. And the subject line is important login information for Favors. It was sent out on June 7th. And so we just want to make sure, and maybe I can make this a little bit bigger. We just want to make sure that everyone that's a user of Favors has received this email, or go look in your spam if you don't think that you got it. But essentially, they have converted to a new version of the e-authentication process. It doesn't require any activity unless you have a name change that would impact your email, the way that you log into the system, or if your school district has any kind of an email change. So we just want everyone to be aware that, number one, this doesn't go through the state agency. We do not house the software system, and so any updates, I can't see your information. If for some reason you have any issues with logging into Favors, make sure that you follow the steps in this email that was sent to every user of the Favors system. And most importantly, is the information that's highlighted at the very bottom of the email that says, if you have any questions, please contact the Favors Help Desk by replying to this email. Again, the state agency can't help you with those login features, so we need for you to know who can provide you that service. Just a reminder that Tessie Vez is the DLA Favors Customer Service Representative, and her email can be found on our webpage under the USDA Foods tile for USDA DoD Fresh. But the email does imply that you should actually reply to the email should you need some assistance. So that's really all we had in the way of important updates for the USDA Foods team. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and now turn the time over to Colleen to finish with any type of questions that we might have. So Colleen, I'll go ahead and turn it back over to you.
Yeah, thank you, TJ. That was great info, and thank you also to Marianne and Heather. Okay, looks like we have some super good questions coming through. So the first one is, what is direct certified reduced? Great question. Linda already answered that, but Linda, do you want to verbally tell the whole group?
Sure. Direct certified reduced is for states who match with Medicaid, and Idaho does not do that because Medicaid does not fall in the guidelines for that. So we don't have direct certified reduced.
Okay, great. Thank you, Linda. Okay, now it looks like there's some really good questions that pertain to Heather's presentation. Are we required by the State Department to print off each application and keep a copy in our office, or is it okay to keep all applications in NutriCloud? So, Heather, do you want to take that one?
Sure. So Linda had provided insight that as long as it's available for reviewers, keeping applications electronically is fine, and that is true. We've had districts that will actually give us a modified account access view to their online applications, and we review everything online. Alternatively, sometimes districts will print out hard copy applications. What I want to be sure to really drive home is that for data security, We have had districts that have had cyber attacks, and while keeping things offline is really beneficial, honestly, the district I can think of really benefited from having their data stored in a server that was completely separate from their district, because they were able to reinstall that from a different restore point. But from a review perspective, we want to know that the information that is available is actually at the district level, that you're housing your own data. You can't rely on NutriCloud to be the end-all be-all. And that's more for certain provisions, for longer ongoing provisional 2 operation or CEP, ensuring that you have the full and complete data, because depending on what the NutriCloud storage policy is, they may not keep it as long as you need it. So that's a point of distinction. But yes, keeping it electronically is fine.
And I did just notice that Linda had put her name in there too. So Linda, was there anything else that you wanted to add?
No, Heather caught it.
Okay. Okay, very good. Thank you. So next question, does NutriCloud link with PowerSchool or other programs, meaning once an application is processed, is the meal status automatically updated? So Heather, you want to take that one?
Yeah, that is an excellent question, and that is one of the key benefits of NutriCloud, is that it collects online applications and then works really nicely to integrate with any local level software. So they have the ability to link with multiple different electronic points of service. I can't remember off the top of my head exactly which integrations are in existence. They work with electronic points of service and then also various student information systems. And that student information system can fill the role if you don't have an electronic point of service. But each district has customized account settings no matter which vendor they're using. So it's really important to reach out to Nutrilink and ask them if they can provide a data integration for you, because the end goal is to have that seamless transfer of online application information into your electronic point of service so that it's there, it's live data, and you have confidence that it's accurate.
Okay, very good. Okay, next question. I have Mosaic and no NutriCloud. I know we have to have 2 different people look at. Oh, you know what? The question is not complete in there. So I'm sorry. If that person would please. Oh, man, it looks like the next time they maybe put it in. Let me read the next one. I know we are required to have 2 different people look at the meal application to check for errors. Does Mosaic count as one person and NutriCloud the second person, or will I need to look at each application as well? And Linda, you want to take that one?
Yes. Hi, everyone. Unless you're required to complete a second review of applications, and that would be found during a review, and you're required to submit a report, you're only required to have one person approve applications. The second pair of eyes on an application would be for the verification process. So NutriCloud can count as the approver. It would be during the verification process that a second pair of eyes would need to be on the application. I hope that makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Okay, the next question. With the Nutrilink program, how much is each year after the state is done paying for it? We need to know the cost to our district afterwards.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and take that. This is Heather. So it is $1,150 that the state of Idaho, through the grant funding that we've received, is paying on behalf of every district. So that's the current negotiated rate that we are covering under the course of this grant. Over conversations with food service directors, for districts that have previously had services through Nutrilink, they've had varying prices. So honestly, we haven't had any conversation with, once the grant is done, if districts are locked in at that rate, or if they can negotiate at that point, or if there will be alternative funding. But the big thing I want to emphasize is this is an opportunity for you to test over the next 2 years if this is a system that would work for your district, if it's something that you would want to find room in the budget for, or if at the end of the grant you decide it's really not worth the investment. and discontinue. So we do hope that there's time and effort savings in the fact that applications are processed automatically and that it is an extremely user-friendly system to use. We have had several districts who were operating under different systems transition over to Nutrilink, and I've heard really positive feedback from those districts and how this one functions compared to other main systems that are online. And yeah, it's definitely something that it's hard to predict 2 years from now how that will look, both at the state level and the district level. But I would hope that wouldn't be a barrier in terms of investigating it.
Thank you, Heather. The one thing I also wanted to add is that Heather and the rest of the ART team have done a lot of work even at the national USDA level, and this program is one that follows the USDA Prototype, which USDA is very happy about with that. And so that's another big advantage of this particular program and how it breaks things down in a very specific format and template. Okay, so at this point, we have not received any other questions. I first want to toss it out to the state agency team. Is there anything that you have thought of that we maybe want to add that we haven't so far?
Hi, Colleen, this is TJ. I just wanted to reiterate, I had forgot to mention that the email that I displayed has been attached to this particular webinar as a handout. So if people need the information from that so that they can kind of go search if they didn't see that email, it is one of the handouts for today. So thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you, TJ. And again, as a reminder, we do have 5 different handouts. We think that all 5 of them are very important and significant. So please go out to that section and feel free to download them. You can either save them on your computer or print them, however is best for you. So anyone else from the state agency, any input that you would like to add that we haven't so far?
Colleen, this is Mary Ann. I think we might have missed one reminder of an extension waiver we had received on Tuesday, and it was for the on-site monitoring waiver extension for sponsoring organizations. We did send out the broadcast email regarding that to everyone on Tuesday, but I wanted to just do a reminder again for the sponsors that that has been extended to August 31st. And so, again, this on-site monitoring waiver is for sponsors to be able to do an off-site monitoring for this requirement. So you can do a desk review. It is not waived. So the sponsors are still required to complete the monitoring, but you can do that off-site. And again, that has been extended to August 31st. So you have plenty of time to get that done. And if you have any questions at all, please refer back to that policy memo or give us a call and we can help you out with any questions you have.
Great input, Mary Ann.
Thank
you. Yeah, thank you. Okay, any other thoughts from the team? Okay, let me double check. It looks like we still don't have any questions. So as we wrap this up, just as a friendly reminder, we will have another webinar in 2 weeks on the 25th. I think that's the 25th. Let me double check here. And yes, it is the 25th. And we will, we'll see how these webinars go throughout the summer. We can either just keep them at every 2 weeks or maybe have them more often or less often. We'll just see how that goes. We are guessing that when the reopening of school happens this next fall, we'll probably ramp those up again and start having them weekly, but we'll just kind of see what the need is. We want to be there for you, so please give us input if you are feeling that you want them more or less. So, and someone just said thank you for all we do, so thank you back to everyone on the call. We appreciate everyone's hard work. So thank you, everyone, and we will talk to you again in a couple of weeks, or if you want to call us before that, just give us a ring or an email. Thank you.